our channel, Get Spooky Society. We are in Hagerstown, Indiana at the library doing our third library presentation. They saw us do the Franklin County libraries and asked us to be guest speakers tonight on October 29th at their Halloween event. So it's time to get spooky. Hey lovelies, I'm here with Jennifer from the Hagerstown Library in Indiana, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the starting of the library, and then give us a little bit of a tour of the original part of the library and then the newer part of the library. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about, I know we've got some information on these plaques.
We have plaques. This plaque is to commemorate the establishment of a library in Hagerstown. The first public library in Hagerstown was established in 1914. And that was by the Progressive Club. Okay. And then we also have a plaque that commemorates donations from Charles Teeter and his wife and family. Contributed books and additional funding to the library that built the library that existed at that time. Finished building that exists now.
Okay, and that was in 1928.
So and that was in 1928. So 1928 is when we generally say that the library really began.
Okay, gotcha. All right, excellent. All right, well, let's go in.
And these are the original doors.
Oh wow!
For the library.
Original doors. That's awesome.
The original library was just this part of the building. It was this one large room.
Okay.
There's also stairs that go down into a basement, but the basement is only used for storage now. We hope to eventually remodel and add that as usable space, but these days you can't really have it because it's not accessible, not really accessible. But this room was the library.
Okay.
Children's was downstairs, the collection of children's books that they had. And then through these doorways that exist here, there was a little space on that side, but as you'll see when we continue the tour, it's a much larger area that was added on to the library later on.
Are these artworks anything significant?
The artwork that hangs on the wall here, my understanding is that it was donated by different organizations here locally.
Okay.
There's also a very large quilt that we have hanging in the lobby that was a donation.
Yeah, I'll make sure that we get a shot of that quilt. Yes, absolutely.
We have a lot of people that come in and it's a book quilt.
Now, was it this hole into these little
annexes? The alcoves at the side. They were small reading areas, and of course, a lot of this shelving that is here is still the original shelving.
Wow.
There were a lot more of them originally,
Okay.
but we've kept a lot of what was originally here. And the shelves on the wall, what's on the wall is original shelving.
Great.
So you'll notice those shelves are narrower because books weren't quite as big as they are these days.
Gotcha. So you just try to keep the integrity.
Yes, particularly on this side.
This is really
historical side. Yes.
I like that a lot.
Which of course the fireplace isn't usable as a fireplace anymore, but we've kept the structure of it.
It's pretty.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now where to?
Let's go this way.
Okay.
So this is the added on part of the building.
Okay.
It was, the addition and renovations were done in 1989.
Okay.
The library board of trustees kind of oversaw that. Everything that is from those pillars this way and the lobby here, that's all new addition.
Okay.
There is no basement for this part of the library. The basement only exists on the original side, but we added a considerable amount of square footage. So now when you come up to the library, this is the main lobby. We have computer stations and restrooms, and then we continue on this.
And you said this is the quilt that was donated?
Yes, this is the book quilt that was donated.
Oh, they're books. Now I see it.
Yes.
That's really neat.
That is really pretty.
And these are the pumpkins for the pumpkin contest?
These are the pumpkins for the pumpkin contest that staff decorated pumpkins this year.
Gotcha.
And then we have displays of, right now now it's the 50th birthday of Uno.
50th birthday of Uno, wow. Interesting, okay. Great.
We have pictures that have been drawn of the library from different angles. These were, well, this one on this side up there and this one here, I think they're very similar. They were done by a local artist. And then the one that is over there is an original, older one.
Gotcha. And is that before the addition? It looks like maybe? Or
This
not?
is not, no,
Oh,
because you'll
okay.
see the children's edition on the side.
Oh, okay.
But this is before the addition. This is the
Oh.
original library
Okay.
as it stood.
Gotcha, okay. My name is Stephanie, and I'm from Got Spooky Society.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, and this is Dale. Hi, Dale. Got Spooky Society. And we are based out of, I'll just say, Southeast Indiana and Southwest Ohio. So we do a lot of local investigations in Franklin County, Hamilton County, and now hopefully here in York County. And we just wanted, they asked us to come in tonight and just talk a little bit about what we do and how we investigate, and then tell some stories with all of you out back and have some s'mores. Does anybody have any specific questions?
I do.
Okay. Lots of questions. Yes. Can you touch it? Yeah. I don't know. Does everybody want to touch it? Put the camera away from them. All right. Any other questions about anything? Alex wants to go touch this. No, good question.
Zombies are not real.
What?
Zombies are not real.
Zombies are not real? Okay.
I have not real.
What's not real?
Bats or skeletons or ghosts. Bats are not real. Yeah, bats are real. Yeah, they're real. When it says that pop, I'm like,
Why do you think some spirits come forward and some don't?
It really depends. I'm actually, before I answer that, I'm also going to turn on, I forgot we use an app, and the app is called Ghost Paranormal Science Toolkit. And we'll see if we get any words to come through. It depends on, so right now, maybe nobody's coming through because there's so many people in the room, and so they're intimidated. Or the energy, it's a lot about energy in theory. And so it could be that just there's so much energy going on that they can't be able to come through. Some are, if they passed more recently, they don't have the ability yet to harness their energy to turn a flashlight on yet. So that could also be a reason. Some just don't want to. Some will say that another spirit's keeping them from talking in their mind, in their, their reality, if you will. So those are the main reasons. Anybody else? Yes.
Are your investigations usually about half an hour, or do you investigate for like 4 hours and edit it down to maybe an hour?
Good question. Yes, we will probably spend at least 3, if not 6 hours at a location, but nobody's going to watch 6 hours. So there are different opinions about that. Some people want to see the raw footage. They want to know for sure that you didn't do anything to it. But I usually will cut out, I'll cut out all the kids coming up to touch the plastic, that kind of stuff. So I'll make it very obvious that I'm making a cut. I don't try to trick anybody, that kind of thing. But yes, we are at least investigating for about 3 hours. Yeah. Yes. Bats are real? Yes, I think that is.
Yeah, they're real. Yeah, they're real.
What?
I said that's actually real life.
Yes.
Is it okay tell a story once the lessons are over?
Yeah, we're gonna go outside and we're gonna get s'mores by the fire and tell spooky stories. Okay? Cassie? Yes. What? I don't know. Steal, S-T-E-A-L. Are you trying to steal the show?
She's the queen. She'll try to steal the show.
I thought she was the princess.
Yeah, princess.
Okay, any more questions?
Where is there one certain place that you've done that really stands out and you really have a lot of activity come in? There's a spirit.
Also, that cat ball was going off on the corner.
Is anybody touching the table?
Nobody was touching the
Nobody's
table.
touching the table? Okay, I saw it go off before and I wasn't sure if anybody was touching the table.
I actually have to speak a little bit while you all talking about rocks and stuff.
And is it going off again now? Okay, so we have somebody here, obviously, and this went off. Now, I don't think any of you kids have a cell phone on you, do you?
No.
Well, should we go out and tell some spooky stories?
Either of those will work.
Are you, who's gonna start? You're gonna start, good.
Go start.
Alright. Dale, what's our scariest one?
Oh, don't you think it's the camera lens one?
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Okay, so we were at Cedar Grove Tavern in Cedar Grove, Indiana. And if you don't know where that is, it's on 52, and it's between New Trenton and Brookville. And they're rehabbing the apartment upstairs. And so we had not gotten to do that apartment. We had done the back of the bowling alley, and Dale heard a growl in real time last year in September. And so we caught it on camera. And when we went back, we were there just to get a drink after we did the old high school in Brookville, and nothing else was open on a Friday night at 10:30, which is weird. And so the new owner came up and said, would you like to do the apartment upstairs? And we said, absolutely. It was a Friday. And we said, how about on Monday? So we went back on Monday, and they were rehabbing. And so there was all kinds of things going on in this apartment. We were just set up in the kitchen. We had flashlights, cat toys, EMF meter, REM pod, and all of a sudden, a smoke detector going off. We didn't even know where the smoke detector was. And it was one of those that doesn't attach, it just has a battery and it doesn't attach electric. So when the battery goes dead, you throw it out and you get a new one. There was no way to turn it, you couldn't turn it off. It would just randomly go on and off.
And it was brand new.
And it was brand new. It was still in the bag with the receipt. And then, so it was just going back and forth. And it was getting more chaotic and more chaotic and more chaotic. And all of a sudden, there's all of this stuff going on, and we've got two cameras happening, and we hear something crash on the floor. And we look over, and Ashley had our night vision camera, and she went like this, and the lens cap out of Dale's left back pocket was on the floor. Now, I have pictures of him footage of him prior to that, and you can see it clearly in his back pocket. He had a t-shirt on, like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, that lens cap had to come up and underneath that t-shirt and down onto the floor. So clearly it didn't do that by itself.
And I felt nothing.
And he felt nothing. So we go over and we're like, Dale, what is that? He goes, well, I didn't touch it. And so and then all of a sudden, for the first time in over a year of us investigating almost weekly, he said, should we be getting out of here? And we all said, no, get the SLS camera.
Or you should have called Ghostbusters.
That's right. That's right.
Ghostbusters.
But that's probably our spookiest one. And I could go on and on and on about others, but I'll give the stage over to the next person.
Wait.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about the library.
Ooh, yeah.
Because we have sometimes some people have had experiences in the library here. We have a member of staff who refers to our ghost as Herb. I used to clean the library, and I would come and clean the library in the middle of the night after hours when I wasn't doing my other jobs that I did. And I came to the library to clean one night, and it was late in the night, and I listened to music on my phone, and the battery some nights would drain much faster than other times. That particular night, my battery died on my phone, so I put my phone up, and I'm just wandering the library cleaning, and I start hearing music. And it was not music like you would listen to on your phone or even on a record player. It sounded like old piano music, and you could hear it in the side of the library that was the original side of the library, just really, really faintly. And so I'm kind of wandering around listening, trying to figure out what I was hearing. And then I started hearing a woman talking, and a man's voice answered her. And so I said, "Hello, is somebody there?" And then I heard a door slam, and one of the basement doors in the building slammed shut. So
Nice.
I like it.
Yes.
that was here in our library.
Can we get that to happen tonight?
Well, I could never get it to happen.
Yeah, we've got the same problem.
Explain who Herb actually is and
So-
why Karen calls him Herb.
But wait a minute, first of all, was it coming from your phone?
No,
music
my
or
phone was
anything?
dead.
Okay, so it wasn't
It was
actually
not on my phone,
magically
no.
coming from your phone.
No, but I've heard that sometimes if you're in an area that has a lot of high spirit activity, that electrical devices will die more quickly. And I cleaned houses for a while, and I would clean for people that they would tell you coming in, "We think that the house is haunted. There's some weird stuff that happens here," and my phone would always die like in an hour. Phone that's meant to have battery for 6 to 12 hours.
We have a massive bag of batteries for that reason.
So that it wasn't from my phone. It wasn't anything in the library that would make music at all.
Sometimes I can watch my battery meter on this camera going down
Yeah,
as I'm watching it.
A friend of mine and I used to clean a house, and we would go in with completely full phone batteries and listen to music. And about half an hour in, we'd both pull our phones out, and the phones would be just barely any battery.
Yep.
Yeah. Just another thing too, before you talk about Herb, is we had hiding come across on the obelisk right when we were shutting down in the other room in the library, and it just said dresser. So somebody had asked why some spirits don't talk. Well, apparently they were hiding.
They were hiding. Okay.
So who's Herb?
So Herb is a patron that used to come to the library every day. And I'm not exactly sure the timeline. This was a while ago. We have an employee here. Her name is Karen Stuffle. Do you guys know Karen? Some of you. She has worked at the library for a very long time. She got used to. She would see Herb come in every day. He'd come in and he'd get certain magazines or certain newspapers. We have patrons that we call our regulars because they're in almost every day because they come in for the computer and stuff. And one day Herb did not come in, and Karen got concerned, and he had passed away. Before that, Karen had never had any weird experiences in the library, but after that, she'd had a couple of weird experiences herself. So that's who Herb is. Herb is an old patron of ours.
And I took my children to Clearwater, Florida, and there's an old hotel there, and it was being they were redoing the upstairs. It had been there since the 1800s. It's where all the rich and famous and all the people that had status would go and visit. Well, we decided we were going to go on a venture, so there's tape, and it says they couldn't go up the stairs. Well, they had been doing drywall work, and we pull the tape back and we start seeing these steps, and we asked the people at the front desk, said, no one's been up there, there's no one up there. Well, then, after we went up there, we kind of made our little rounds, and doors were shutting, and we heard all kinds of crazy noises, and then the next day, my son went swimming, and he had his snorkels, and he took them off to swim. When he came back up, they were on the other side of the pool.
So when we first moved to Hagerstown, we lived in a house at 35 West Main Street, which is now Iron Gate Graphics. And that house, the original part of it, was built there in 1839. so it's got a lot of history. And part of the house was an even older house that they dragged onto the lot connected to the first house. So, but anyway, we had a door to the kitchen. There was a porch that goes around two sides of the house, and we had a door to the kitchen that wouldn't come open except if we really, really tugged on it and beat on it. But we'd be sitting there in the living room and we'd hear something walking down the porch, making a lot of racket. Nothing that we could see, and all of a sudden the kitchen door would spring open. And that's just one of many interesting.
Many tales.
Yeah.
We're hoping that we're going to tour that building.
Well, you might find my dad's spirit in
Might
there.
find your dad.
We moved in May of 1987. He came over to Indianapolis to see where we had moved, and on the way in he had a heart attack, and he passed away about 2 weeks later. We had got him into the house and set him in a chair, but in August we were sitting there just talking, a bunch of us, and my dad appeared in the kitchen. I said, "It's okay," and he disappeared. And when he appeared, he had 2 legs, and he hadn't had 2 legs for about 20 years. He had one cut off at the knee. And the other thing that's happened, the people that bought the house about 5 years after we moved out, they ran a restaurant, and they would come down, they would open the restaurant up in the morning, and there'd be books out on the table, open. My dad was a teacher. There'd be books that he would have been interested in, science books. And they named those John, which is my dad's name. So anyway, pretty sure he was there.
Yeah.
Well, I have no clue how much of this is actually like ghosts or if this me being really tired hallucinating. One day I was sitting in my living room because I was having to do homework. So, this was like a year or 2 ago, and we had our table right up against our window. And so I was doing my homework, and I look out the window, and I see what at the time I thought was my brother's face, but I'm not entirely sure, I don't remember it. So it was just a face. And so I go to check, and my brother's in his room. And so I get confused. I go back out there, and then, like, right where I was, since it was night outside currently, there was like those... I like this. There was those, like, breath marks you see when you, like, breathe
Breathed on the
on glass.
Yeah.
On the outside, on the actual glass. So,
They were looking at you.
Interesting.
They'd have to be a really tall peeping Tom because their windows are elevated.
yeah, and it was, like, right up at my face level, so.
So it
Yeah.
obviously wasn't your brother, because he was in his room.
No, it wasn't my brother.
That's a little weird.
That is a little weird.
Anybody else have a story to tell? No?
I could tell one about that's not about Get Spooky.
Okay.
But I don't want to be in the rain.
Do you want to be on camera?
You can stand right there by the young man eating s'mores.
Do we have your permission to be on film?
Yes, yeah, my permission. Can you back?
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
closer.
I gotcha.
Okay, so I had breast cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012. And my grandfather had been passed away for several years, but we were very, very close. And I was mowing the grass, and I think it had been after my first chemo maybe, and I was mowing the grass, and my house was built in the 1800s, and he used to come down to the house all the time and move things when he was alive, and he still did that after he passed away. And I had built onto it, and so the addition has a back porch that goes down the side of the back of the house. And I was mowing, and I have all kinds of trees and hills, so I don't do any of these fancy diagonals and all that stuff. I just mow around and around and around. And I was coming around the back of the house, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Grandpa standing on the porch, and I turned and looked at him, and then I thought, well, I'll catch him on the way back around, because I was already, pretty far up. And then it dawned on me that he's not alive, and I looked back, and of course he was gone. So then in December of that year, I had finished all of my I had finished all my treatments, and I was waiting for my surgery. And I was coming home from downtown Cincinnati from a holiday party, going to a holiday party in Harrison. And my parents were all worried about me, being by myself. I'm under the influence of chemo and all this stuff. And so I had talked to them on the phone, and I'm driving through Lytle Way or whatever, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and Grandpa was sitting in my back seat.
Wow.
And then I looked back to the road, and then it dawned on me again, and I looked back in the rearview mirror, and he of course wasn't in the back seat.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he definitely was here taking care of me and watching over me. And then a rose that he had given me, he had a award-winning rose garden, and he had all kinds of different roses. And while he was alive, he asked me, he was learning how to graft them, and he said, which rose would you want if I grafted one for you? And I said, Tropicana Peach. Well, when it bloomed yellow. And I would never have told him that I was disappointed. I loved that rose. He passed away on November 1st. The 31st, Halloween, is my birthday. He passed away the next day. And every year on November 1st, when roses should be dormant, it blooms Tropicana Peach.
To this day?
To this day.
Wow.
Tropicana Peach.
Very nice.
Yep. That's my story.
I do have one more story that's kind of creepy. It's very creepy, actually. And you can film it. So when my husband and I first got married, we lived in a town called Middleborough. I don't know if you know where Middleborough is. It's just north of Richmond on 227, like you're driving towards Bethel. And we lived in this little house, and it was white and had green trim, and it was kind of a dream home that I'd always wanted to live in. And the house was a cottage, but then it had an addition that was the master bedroom and the master bathroom. And from the time we moved into the house, it was a rental. Weird stuff happened all the time. We'd find like huge snakes, and we'd find, there was a snake in the bathroom that was very unpleasant. We found big spiders. I mean, it was just, we couldn't get it out. It was constantly in there. We would move it out, and it would be back. My husband was a police officer, and he worked night shift, and I was a dispatcher who worked evenings. And we had a dog and a couple of cats. The evenings, I would get off work about 11:30, and I'd come home, and I'd get on a computer game, and I'd be playing a computer game, and usually talking to friends of mine that were in different parts of the United States. And I had a little office that was mine, and my husband had an office upstairs that was where his stuff was kept. And my office had these wood panel doors all along the wall behind me. And it was a small office, but I had a huge comic book collection. And so these drawers, when you opened them up, had these big shelves, and I would store my comic books in there and all my nerdy stuff, because I'm nerdy. One night, I'm sitting there, and I started hearing like creaking noises, and I took my headset off because I was hearing them over the headset that I was talking to somebody, and I told him I'd be right back. Put the headset down. My dog was sleeping at my feet. My dog suddenly leaps up and runs out of the room, and all of these doors behind me all start shaking like there's something beating on all of them simultaneously, and there's 6 of them across the wall behind me, like something was just pounding on them. And I jump up, and they're shaking, and I ran out of the room, and the second I went to the door, it stopped. And my dog is in the master bedroom, which is the new area of the house, and I called my dog back to me. Well, I didn't want to go back in my office yet. On the other side of that wall was a guest bedroom. So I went in there. There was nobody in there at all. It was completely empty. I come back out. I couldn't get my dog to go back in the office where I had been sitting, but I went back in and I opened all the doors. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Couldn't figure out what was going on. But after that night, stuff got more aggressive. My husband's office was in the upstairs, and this was in the middle of summer. And of course, upstairs houses that are old, they're always roasting in the summer. The temperature in his office, we put a thermometer up there, it dropped. Every time he'd go up there, the temperature would just drop down to the 40s. Like, it was that something didn't want him upstairs. My brother came to visit us one day when we weren't home, and we had the house locked up, and so he was in our parking area waiting for us, and he looked up, and at the back of our house there was a window on the second story, or in the second floor, and he said he could see somebody standing in that window. Well, that window is on the second floor above a stairwell. There's no floor underneath it. And so we started researching what stuff had happened in that house. The woman who owned the house that we rented it from, her mother had terminal cancer, and she had lived in that house for as long as it had been there. And she was afraid of the progression of the disease. She didn't want to leave her home, and she drowned herself in the pond behind the house. And things got to be so aggressive in that house, we broke our contract and moved out because we weren't comfortable staying.
Wow.
You need to go to that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to go to that.
They weren't able to rent it ever again either.
Really?
They ended up moving into it themselves.
Identify. They moved into it themselves?
They moved into it themselves.
Are they still there?
And as far as I know, they're still there. No, it's in Middleborough.
Bedrooms.
Yeah. Okay, that's creepy. Now I have goosebumps.
Cancer.
She has a camera.
Yeah.
That's a grand project. I just identified it.
Is there anybody here named Nora?
Forgive.
I forgave and moved out.
Okay, that's just how right?
That's weird.
And it said throw up earlier when you were talking. Well, I'm sure she threw up a lot from cancer.
Yes. She was very, very ill, is what I understood. 'Cause I finally got her daughter to tell me what happened in the house, because, yeah. Is anyone else? I'm not talking anymore.
That wasn't right.
Hey lovelies, that wraps up another episode of the Get Spooky Society here in Hagerstown, Indiana at their public library, where we just did another presentation of Get Spooky, but as part of their Halloween special on October 29th. If you haven't, please smash that subscribe button, give us a huge thumbs up, comment, share, like, everything that you do helps our channel for free. And until next time, stay spooky!